Hey, we are in for We Called It. We are going to be talking all about the AFC West, NFC East. What went wrong for teams, what went right for teams. We're starting there with a week-by-week breakdown of each division because those divisions had our two Super Bowl appearers, I guess. The Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles.
Time out.
You don't like the word appearers? What else?
Literally anything. Representatives.
I don't have a good word.
They represented the AFC and the NFC in the Super Bowl. Appearers I'm not even sure is a word.
It most certainly isn't, but it's.
If we weren't live right now, we should just.
We would 100% stop and restart. You're right. But here we are, continuing right now. All right.
Embarrassing.
I'm sorry.
Embarrassing.
Before we break down every team, telling you how we're going to fix them, what they did, how they got lucky, what they screwed up last year. We're going to go through big news. We had 3 players dropped that were notable. I'm pretty sure we made fun of them all year. Number 1, Leonard Fournette. I'm pretty sure we said don't draft him, and he made us eat crow for a little bit. But Rachaad White burst through about 8 weeks in and made us right. How do you feel about that?
Well, to be fair, I don't think we said avoid Lenny. I think there were 2 things. I said if you're going to get Lenny, you better make darn sure you got Rachaad White, and he was total volume. Nobody ever said he was any good. He got lots of passes because pretty much at the end of the day, Tom was going to throw the ball 60 times no matter what. He's got decent hands. He's just, Lenny Lacy is what we called him. And if you don't know who Eddie Lacy is, Google him. And then you'll also find that
you are going to find a million going to get China food tweets.
And you'll find a million pictures of those two side by side. And they'll be like, Lenny's the next Eddie Lacy. But anyways, so we did call the fact that Rachaad White would eventually burst through, and he did. So we can talk about segments in the future about draft diamonds and draft capital related to fantasy and all of those things. We'll do it all. We'll do everything.
We have months. We have months to do all this.
Anyways,
Number 2 player that we mocked that got dropped. Kenny G, baby. New York Giants.
6 total receptions. This many in the NFL this year. 6. Wow.
He technically played wide receiver. Absolutely one of the biggest arbitrage contracts we have seen in a long time. Absolutely made the
in fantasy
Giants
though.
regret giving him any
money. Was he 28 or 29? Was he 28 or 29? Somebody is going to drop him.
Yeah.
He's going to get another shot. Don't replace him with, anybody else. But if you can replace, I don't know, somebody who's about to get dropped by someone else, like if for some reason you have I don't know, that dude who plays for the Browns that's just really fast on your team, thinking he's going to break out, Anthony Schwartz, drop him and pick up Kenny G in Dynasty or something. Yeah, if you have that, you're probably not very good anyways. Just pick up Kenny G as a flyer. He's going to probably get, picked up on a practice squad. And maybe he gets a chance to be, I don't know, Russell Gage somewhere. I don't know.
The man is clearly money motivated. And now that he's not making money, he is going to be motivated.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, he had walk-away money. He got a lot of walk-away money. He could have walked away at 26 when he signed.
All right. And then the last one. Carson Wentz. Man, we've had so much fun betting against Carson Wentz. And it is just a complete heartbreak now that he is no longer a free give me bet each week. I'm still never going to forget. We took the Titans against him. And I think last year when he was on the Colts, and they were up 14-0. I was nervous. And then he threw the world's worst pick 6 at the end of the game and cashed our bets. And I just, that's Carson Wentz.
They were up way higher.
That's what he's going to do every time.
I remember it specifically because he had a really good first half. And we were like, this is a stupid bet. Second half, he threw 2 or 3 picks. And I think at least one of them was a pick 6. Another one I thought either was picked and brought back to the 5. and swung them by like 21 points. They were up big. It was like 28-7, and then they lost like 31-28 because Carson Wentz literally
in
threw the
overtime.
other team. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad, really bad. And I see landing spots for him.
So,
like I saw somebody mock him or put him to Arizona as a bridge to Kyler. I was like, man, I'll take Colt McCoy because supposedly Colt McCoy's hurt and thinking about retirement, may not come back. Supposedly.
I honestly, at that point, I'm just. You're the Cardinals. It's going to be ugly next year. Take it to the chin and just
take it
in the draft pick because there's
take it in the draft.
There's 2 or 3 good draft picks, right? Quarterbacks. I'm thinking Caleb Williams, and I know there's someone else. I just can't think of him right now.
Drake May.
But it's like, if you can have a top 2 pick, you can make a ton in draft capital next year.
Yeah. And if you're, well, technically you have to be tied to Kyler. You just paid him $1 bajillion. So he's your guy. Whether or not you want him to be, he is. So.
Who's the coach there? Is that's the defensive coordinator from the Eagles? Is that right?
Did you see any of? Yeah,
Shane Steichen went to the Colts.
Steichen went to the Colts. Gannon went to the Cardinals. But did you see some of the interactions he's had with the players? Weird dude.
No.
Serious. Google it. I'm serious. Google Gannon. I think it's Gannon and. Who's the dude that's from Purdue? Little guy, gadget player, like a Zay Flowers type. Went to Purdue. Short
Rondale
dude.
Moore?
Rondale Moore. Seriously, I swear to you, I will reenact this for everyone to see. And you guys are going to think I'm laughing, but you guys are going to think I'm joking, but it was this was up there with the dude for the Jets that sat on TV like this. And it was just really weird. Eyes wide open. You remember that guy? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was the Eagles coach.
Yes, it was the Jets. Adam Gase.
Adam Gase.
He's up there. They're comparing him to Adam Gase.
The Eagles coach didn't do much better.
Yes, so he quite literally he goes to Rondale Moore. He's like, "What's up, man?" And this is the interaction. And they dap up, and he goes silent, and then he goes. No words. No words. I'm serious. And Rondale's just okay. He's like, yeah, you're just going to be just doing this all day long. I'm like, that's your first interaction? My man, you just got handed the keys to a franchise, and your first interaction is that. It was crazy. It was insane to me. Dude, tell me you're looking it up right now.
While we're mocking I'm not, because I'm hosting one of the world's renowned podcasts.
Dude, people are going to want to see it.
Anyways.
Watch, right now. People are going to be like, I'm going to go look up that video. Connor was right. We didn't think so.
I will look it up as you tell me. We're going to start right there. The Eagles. We just talked about both their coordinators leaving. Let's start with what went right for them this season. Why were they a 14-3 team? What do you think?
Everything.
And is that sustainable?
Everything and no. There you go. That was easy. Next question. Boom.
Okay. Any explanation, or are we just 2-word answers here?
This is where we talk about this. We talk about this all the time. Pairing up of head coaches and even more importantly, offensive coordinators. Everything went right because you got the perfect storm. You got 2 stud wide receivers. You brought one in, and it was a hit. It was not a big old Kenny Golladay. It was a smash with A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. You had 2 top 10 fantasy receivers, but top 10 productive receivers for stat lines in Smith and Brown. You had a resurgence of Miles Sanders, Steichen, all hits. Gannon, all hits on defense. They brought in Gardner Johnson. He was an all-pro this year. They brought in Bradbury, borderline All-Pro, Darius Slay, All-Pro. Everything hit for them. And, like, ironically, my brother and I were talking about this today, and he made a good point. Like, Geno, perfect storm for him. You have to expect at least some kind of regression. Can Geno do it again? Maybe. Stats and probabilities would say he hadn't done it his entire career. The chances of him repeating are slim, possible, but it's likely to regress a little bit. Same thing with the Eagles. They could repeat. They could absolutely repeat. Stats would tell you, man, like if there were stats that says how defenses performed with brand new defensive coordinators, I wonder it would probably be the stats would probably tell you they were worse. Probably the same on the offensive side. You just lost both. That's a problem. I mean, two completely different voices. So I think everything went right. Fantastic. What you have to do, you got to give Hurts his money. Sorry. State of the world, state of the QB market. I think he's worth. I don't want to say he's worth it, but
we have you on record saying he's the best quarterback in the NFC last week. I agree with you for the record.
I think you have to pay him, and I think he's worth it in that division. Keep him there. Let's say somebody drafts somebody in the NFC, and they're that good. It's going to take them 2 years to get there. So you got another window of like 2 years before you're going to be QB surpassed. So I would say, got to sign him. Going forward, they're going to lose. I think they're going to lose Johnson. They're going to lose. They lost one of their inside linebackers who was a stud. They're going to lose both. They're both going to be cap casualties. It's just not going to be the same thing next year. So how do you replace that? I don't know. I mean, I would say promote from within. I would think, but you tell me. You tell me, Phil.
Yeah. So I was going to say, so my fears are James Bradbury, their number 2 lockdown corner. Like, they were blessed to play the defense they did. They had one of the best defensive fronts and 2 of the best corners, and 3 if you count CGJ. So their defense is absolutely going to need a revamp in terms of how it's played. They lost, I think it's Justin Hargrave. He's one of the best defensive tackles in football. Brandon Graham's getting old, thinking about retiring, so they're losing pressure. So I am very worried about their defense. We saw in the Super Bowl, they played a cupcake schedule, and when they played a real team, it didn't look too hot. Same against when they even played the Cowboys. The Cowboys dropped 40 on them in it wasn't a must-win, but it was like unique. They're trying to play for the division still. If the Eagles won that game, they would have clinched. So it was a meaningful game. They had a pathetic.
Listen, Phil. Max Kellerman said that they would win by 2 touchdowns or more. He said that. He works for ESPN. That means he's good.
That does not mean. Ooh, we'll cover that another time. We should just have our political hot take segments where it's not actually politics. It's just random stuff that just annoys us. And
we don't even have to call it political. You can call it
ESPN is complete garbage.
What's called Face the Nation is that political show that shows it's going to be Face Us, Face We Called It, and it's just going to be all broadcasters with stupid hot takes. We'll start with them and then just cut them up. Kellerman will be on. I honestly
think it would be harder to tell people who we actually legitimately follow for good advice.
Yeah,
it's so funny because there's so many people that I think this is totally just a stupid rabbit hole, but they put opinions out and they truly believe them, but they're terrible takes and they're hot takes. But it's one of those things where it's I say it so much, so now I believe that it's true. But then there's Pat McAfee, who I absolutely love because he knows what he is. When you watch that show, there is no doubt that guy's just we're some bros talking football, and it's awesome.
So think about what Barstool has done too. Think about that. So you have taken a position that pretty much says, hey, we used to write gambling lines. It's great. 60% is an unbelievable gambling line. Okay. You're hitting a 60% hit rate. Nobody's ever going to do that. Those guys used to do that. And then they pretty much took that business model and said, let's be entertaining about all of our takes. And when they do hit, they're the best in the world. And when they don't hit, it's because it was a funny, stupid take. You know what I mean? Truthfully, that's what they did. They turned it into entertainment. Now, Dave Portnoy is famous because he's entertainment because he just says ridiculous things, and then every once in a while he's right, so he's like, "See, I'm really good at this." But he also has a same segment. He calls himself Davey Day Trader. Dude would literally take hundreds of thousands of his dollars and be like, "Man, this graph looks like this. Looks like we're betting this." And here he would go buy, 1,000 shares in the market that day. And every once in a while he'd make money, but the vast majority of the time he'd lose. That's what we've done is
You're
we've
wrong.
kind of said entertainment is more important than takes. And we think even in business, I see it all the time. If somebody says something definitively, people are like, oh, yeah, he's very confident in his answer. He's going to be right. No. That's what we do on ESPN all the time.
Oh, my gosh.
Every show.
Dude. Yeah, I agree. We'll cover this more. Let's get back to what we were doing. I have so much to talk about on that. Anyways, Eagles offense now. We'll get through this quickly. That way we can fly through two divisions. What happened on the Eagles offense is they had the best players at every position. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They had the best O-line.
Perfect storm.
They had the best wide receivers. They had a great tight end. Of course they were going to be great. So now they lose the mastermind. Their offensive line's getting older. We'll see how it goes. I'm definitely excited, but I'm cautiously optimistic for the next 2 or 3 years. Next year they'll be good because I don't think it deteriorates too much. The year after is when I'll worry.
Yeah, but go look at the rest. We're going to go through the rest of their division. What threats do you have?
Let's go on then to the number 2 team in that division, the Dallas Cowboys.
What threats do you have?
Does Dak threaten you? We can't stand more.
Does Dak threaten you?
I was going to say we can't stand the Cowboys because there is no respect for what they put together.
Jerry Jones putting out feelers saying that he likes C.J. Stroud, thinks he's good. Come on, man. You set the market 2 years ago with paying Dak $40 million a year, however much guaranteed. I get it. You're a Playboy billionaire, whatever. You're not even Playboy billionaire. You're 80 years old now. Fine. I get it. It's no money to you. You overpaid Zeke. You overpaid Dak. You haven't paid CD yet. You're not even talking to him about it. You've got Micah. You're going to overpay Micah. You overpaid DeMarcus Lawrence. I mean, everywhere on that roster is overpay, underdeliver. Everywhere. Zeke was an all-pro for 3 years, got paid a ton, and then they ran him into the ground. Just ran him over and over and over.
He took that money and went to his local China shop and said, give me everything you have in here.
Yeah, I mean, totally just – and they just refused to do anything. I think that we talk about tread on tires all the time, for running backs especially. And if you've come into the league, like Jahmyr Gibbs, for example, for Alabama, doesn't have a ton of tread on his tires because he wasn't a 3-down workhorse at Alabama. So he actually comes in as more desirable because he hasn't taken years and years and years of hits. So that's something. But, back to the Cowboys, you got Micah Parsons, you got Trayvon Diggs, you got not a ton of cap space at all. Highest cap hit, I think, in the NFL this year for a running back, Zeke Elliott. You won't play him because you got a better running back behind him, but you've paid him so much. It's just dysfunctional. Totally dysfunctional. when your owner is also your GM, that's a problem because he is so driven by ratings and money. You can't be objective and say, hey, I want to make a sacrifice here because this guy's better. Cut Zeke. Sorry, I love the guy. He's a OSU Buckeye. Pollard is better at this point in his career. That's it. That's the answer.
So I'm with you. I think the Cowboys, we always laugh at them, and they obviously they have talent, right? And they can beat up bad teams. But they definitely are one of those teams that never shows up when it matters most. When you look at their best wins, they beat the Bengals in week 2 when the Bengals were lost. Like, remember their O-line just getting shredded by everyone, and they finally figured it out. But then it's like they beat the Vikings. No, I think that was a late primetime game. No one cared. And then they beat the Eagles with Gardner Minshew. When you look at these wins, nothing's impressive about it at all. What they beat the Buccaneers in the postseason. That was literally Tom Brady's last game. I just think again, cupcake schedule, same as the Eagles. It's your division. It's bound to happen. You benefit from it both. But I don't think with Dak Prescott you can win those competitive games. And now they got rid of Kellen Moore. He was the what's it called? The scapegoat for everything. And
yeah, that was the other thing.
Mike McCarthy's going to stay there. I think that's a huge loss. And now Mike McCarthy's going to look really bad next year. And I don't know what they're going to do because they gave Dak a lot of money when we all knew they shouldn't. I think they've made a mess for themselves, and they get the reward of having a talented team in the NFC. So they're a borderline playoff team every year. I don't see them being less than like a 7-win team, and that gets you right neck and neck in the wild card hunt. So good for them, but they don't have the upside potential to go through and make a huge playoff run, beat the San Franciscos, beat the Eagles, let alone whoever comes out of the AFC. My solution to them: get rid of your dead weight on offense.
You can't.
And that is Zeke Elliott.
You can't.
I know. Get a wide receiver 2 that's a legit wide receiver 2. That's my truest answer.
You paid what's his face $1 bajillion coming off an ACL tear.
Go draft first round pick. That's it.
Okay, all right.
Like that's my solution because
they drafted that kid from Southern Miss
third
last
round,
year.
Jalen
in
Tolbert.
The third round. Never played. Noah Brown played over him. Again, another OSU guy. Fantastic. Great. Love it. But if he can't beat him
they don't have a secondary threat.
It's you missed, which means you got problems in your scouting department too. You're not going to win. You're not going to do it in the draft.
You hit on CeeDee Lamb. I don't think it was a home run hit, but you got I'm going to stand by that guy's a B+, A- receiver. He is not a true 1, but he plays a slot role. So if you get an outside guy, that if you get one Bs, but one's outside, one's inside, you'll be fine. So they need an outside. They just need an outside threat.
They drafted him at a time where they didn't need him because they had Amari Cooper, but because shiny thing, Jerry Jones goes out and gets the shiny thing, like
that.
It looks like a great move.
As a Browns fan, by the way, that is the best trade of all last offseason. Getting a 5th round pick for Amari Cooper. And then 3 weeks later, the wide receiver market shifting to first rounders for Amari Cooper type players. Phenomenal. Terrible job by the Cowboys.
They only paid a 5th. They just had to take on his salary. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that was the deal.
I knew they had to take on the salary, and that was prohibitive because it was $100 million for 4 years, I think. But man,
he was down to it wasn't even that bad a contract. And now, when you look at what today's wide receivers make, he's a Christian Kirk salary. So
yeah,
again, fix your offense by replacing the player you traded away last year. Just don't let Jerry Jones run things. That's the real solution. All right, let's go on now. New York Giants. And here it is. I'm going off first here. What went right for them? They were the best coach team in football for 10 weeks. What went wrong for them? They don't have any talent anywhere. My solution, blow it up. Give Daniel Jones a franchise tag because he did well, and watch him get completely demolished week after week when you ask him to be a drop-back passer. I don't care that he had 25 touchdowns and 5 interceptions last year. They were running a borderline Wildcat offense with him. It was a joke. No one respects it. I don't think he throws a nice deep ball, but I don't think he's a down-to-down passer. Rip the Band-Aid off. Ken said it best last year. I don't want to have a quarterback who is average and puts me at like the wild card competition, because that means I'm never going to win a Super Bowl and I'm never going to know that I need to replace my guy. Rip the Band-Aid off. Daniel Jones isn't the guy. Get over it. Your defense was well coached but sucks. You need new players there.
Dude, he had like 275 and 75 against the Vikings in the wild card. I mean, that's what people remember. 270. He had like 5 touchdowns. Remember, it was like 2-2.
The Vikings, the team that you and I could have thrown 300 yards against.
They fired him. They fired that dude within like 48 hours after that game. Okay.
Did they get Brian? Oh, I can't wait to talk Vikings. They got Brian Flores. That team. Oh, I'm going to be pumped about that.
Is that good or bad?
I love Brian Flores as a defensive coordinator.
I think he's a good defensive coordinator, but I didn't know where you were going with that. I was like, oh man, here we go.
So pumped for the Vikings.
Side note: Vikings are letting Cousins play out his last year of his contract without giving him another extension. So they're on the borderline. So watch out for them. Watch out for them next year taking a QB. Anyways, but I know we're on the Giants.
That is the story of every Kirk Cousins team. We will not pay him the following offseason.
They did though. They paid him, and then I think they extended him this past year to give him a one more year after this year, and now they stopped.
Yep.
Because so they were like, hey, Kevin O'Connell's coming in, give him one more year, so this year and next year, and then he wanted to be extended, and they were like, yeah, you only get one of these. So, but all right, Giants.
If you just want to piggyback everything I said, where they just don't have the talent, but they have the coaches, you can.
I do, but like, what's the alternative? What are you going to go get? You want to go be back to being a bottom feeder team? That's what you're asking for them to do. As a franchise, you're asking them.
I'm asking
because think about it.
I said franchise tag Daniel Jones because you obviously can't draft someone this year. Go try to get honestly, Derek Carr is a top quarterback in the NFC right now.
I agree.
Jimmy Garoppolo is a functioning quarterback in the NFC. Like there's quarterback options that I think can get you wins right now.
Fine.
Daniel Jones, though, is not the answer, and he's going to cost more than those other guys.
But you just said
Carr,
that
Carr's actually a legit starter you can live with.
You just said, though, that they don't have any more talent. So what's he going to do? He's going to come in, and he's going to get you to the wild card and do the same thing as Daniel Jones would. You just said.
If we're talking Derek Carr, okay. If we're talking Derek Carr, I think once you actually put pieces around him, you will be better. And
how are you going to get pieces? How are you going to get pieces? You have no wide receiver.
Well, I was going to say you obviously need to draft. You need to go to free agency. There's not great wide receiving options right now in free agency.
Terrible.
So you need to go through the draft. You don't like the receivers this year? I'm just saying, give me a couple second and third. What they were fielding at the end of last year was scout team backup quarterbacks in college.
Hey, Isaiah Hodgins, though, actually, he might be hot take. Hodgins is a wide receiver 2 or 3 next year in fantasy. Hot take. He
is the third best wide receiver on a good offense, though. That's the problem. You need to start getting some alpha dogs. You need to get Kenny Galladay's when they were in Detroit.
Okay, but the knock on this draft from analysts, and of course we're talking about analysts who are wrong all the time, is that you've got 1, maybe 2 stud wide receivers, and those aren't They're not Marv Harrison Jr. or Jamar Chase. They're just not plug and play like Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave. They're saying that they are not as good as those guys. Potentially JSN from Ohio State, but because he's actually fallen on draft boards now because of his hamstring issues. You got the kid from TCU, Quentin Johnston, who's a monster, 6'4", 225, 4'4". I mean, the question is he – I'm serious. This is crazy. You will understand this, though. DK and Kevin White are his comps. DK, wow, fantastic. Kevin White, wow, terrible. So that's the range of the spectrum. There's no surefire hits in the wide receiver rooms this year. So, okay, to answer the original question.
Like when I say draft wide receivers, like at this point, I can't tell people to draft, the best wide receiver in the first round because that wouldn't make sense for every team to do that. If I said every team should do that because the guy exists one time. But it's just about you got to take shots. And I think at wide receiver, when you take third, fourth, fifth, sixth round shots, if you get two or three wide receivers, rookie wide receivers, and just bring them in, and you hope that one can be a functioning role player, that's great. Like if you look at Amon-Ra St. Brown, he wasn't hyped. I like
you just said though that they need studs.
That's fallen.
You just said they need studs though.
I said they need players, period. They have one. I don't think they have legitimate, like Richie James is not a legitimate wide receiver at all. Go get a legit one.
All right. The hot take for me, I think you franchise tag Jones. He's bridging.
Mm-hmm.
You sign Saquon. You either sign Saquon or you better get like somebody like Bijan to fill him. This running back class is deep, by the way. And you do everything on the offensive side. That's my opinion. My opinion is you keep the defense the same. If you ain't got it, if you don't have it now, and you did fine, you did okay, you can outcoach, fine. But your best shot is to go all offense. That's my opinion. I think you have a Wink Martindale can coach well, but pay your offensive guys. And then you have Daniel Jones, very crystal clear next year. You know what's going on. Make a heavy upfront deal with Saquon, something like that.
Their solution at wide receiver is T. Higgins next year. Dude, I saw that. That's because people were calling about a trade. He's not trading him this year. He's going to let him walk in free agency next year. I'm just kidding. All right. Yes, that's actually great news. We will get to them at another time. But for now, we are going on to one of my favorite team, the Washington Commanders. All right. What went right for them this year? Dude, I always talk about how much I love the Washington Commanders. They have a complete defense. They have a solid offensive line. They have great wide receivers. I love their depth, like throughout most positions. The only thing they need is a capable running back. I don't like Brian Robinson. I don't like Antonio Gibson. They desperately need a quarterback. As much as I like Taylor Heineke and, during the year we talk about betting on him for upside and stuff like that, he ain't the guy. He ain't getting it done. They need to go out and they need to get a veteran quarterback. Their team is far too talented to be a bottom dweller and competing for a top pick. So I'm surprised I don't hear more about them in the Derek Carr sweepstakes. I could see them going for a Jimmy Garoppolo or someone. If they went all in on Aaron Rodgers, I would love it. That'd probably be my favorite pick. I know it probably won't happen, but fingers crossed. I just think all they need is a functioning quarterback. Huh? If you're talking about just dysfunctional, from the top down, their top is by far the absolute worst in the NFL.
Yeah.
But all I was saying, top across the board, I love their talent. Get me a quarterback that can hit Jahan Dotson, Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel. That's an awesome receiving core. Dynami Brown's a good deep threat as your number 4 option. But they don't got it, and that's the bottom line. They need to get a quarterback.
You don't know anything about Sam
and I'm
Howell.
just talking about a functioning quarterback.
Listen, Sam Howell won you a ton of money.
You can't go into the year saying Sam Howell is the guy, though. That's my problem.
Your bank account says otherwise, Phil.
My
That's what
bank
it says.
account loves Sam Howell.
I think guys like Ron Rivera, I mean, he's the reason that other places are going away from old school. Like, you saw the comment today from a GM from the Tennessee Titans that said, it's great to play Golden State Warriors football in October and November, but the best teams run the ball and play defense in January and February. And quite literally, the winner of the Super Bowl is not a running football team. I mean, it was totally tone deaf. I mean, I couldn't believe people were just roasting him today. Like, that's your GM now in Tennessee. That's great to have an identity. Fantastic. But the game is not that anymore. And Ron Rivera is all about that. Riverboat Ron is all about that. He drafted Brian Robinson, who, by the way, is going to be 24 this year as a second-year guy, and not an athletic
Gunshot
guy.
survivor, Brian Robinson.
I mean, he's an athletic guy, but he's not like he's not a bell cow. I don't think anybody thinks he's a 3-down, 4-down type of back. And
so he's definitely not a bell cow, and that's my problem with him. Is that he reminds me of AJ Dillon. He is phenomenal at turning a 3-yard carry into a 5-yard carry.
Yeah,
he can't turn a 5-yard carry into a 20-yard carry though.
And you know, I saw somebody like quote tweeted or something like that. So one side note, Rivera comes out and says, "Hey, right now, Sam Howell's our guy," and then immediately backtracks it later and says, "Yeah, nobody is our guy right now, but yeah, he's the guy to beat. He's basically saying he's going to be taking first team reps." Like, and then somebody quote tweeted it or something, was like, Ron Rivera is going to say, I can't wait for Ron Rivera to say this after they're 3-5. Sam Howell is 3-5. They walk in, and all because he wants to throw the ball 20 times a game and run the ball with Antonio Gibson mediocre success, and Brian Robinson for 30, 40 times a game.
Dude, that's like when Jason Lick, the GM of the Buccaneers, is like, we're going into the season with Kyle Trask.
Yeah,
everyone's
so
like,
stupid.
no, you're not.
Not a
We
soul
know you're
believes
not.
that.
Nice try.
Nobody believes that. Not a soul.
That's like me having the lack of awareness to be like, hey, Sarah, we're going to play a game where we go out to a bar and see who can pick up more of like pick up more people. And clearly Sarah's going to win. It's not going to be a competition. Like, why would I even propose that?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
I think
so we're done with the NFC. I don't think we get what would you do? Would you say clean house and bring in people that know what they're doing at football?
For which one? Commanders?
The Commanders.
Oh, I think you're not. I think Ron Rivera is a defensive coordinator. I think Ron Rivera is a defensive guy, and I think he's old school defensive coordinator. What worked for him in Carolina with Cam, it's just not going to work. He doesn't have that. I think you go get a quarterback. I think you go get a plug and play quarterback. You don't have a ton invested in Sam Howell. And I also think that a guy like a Derek Carr, like a dark horse that would be a dark horse landing place for him. But again, we just talked about it. Dysfunctionality at the top. If I got the option to go to the Jets or Tampa or another QB needy team, I would not pick the Commanders first. I just wouldn't.
So
Dan Snyder came out this week and said, all right, I'll sell my team, but you got to indemnify me for any past sins. I'll sell the team. And by the way, Jeff Bezos still can't buy it. Dude, it doesn't work that way.
It is so shady, first of all. Dude, that is billionaire playing child ball. Second of all, the fact that the other owners haven't voted him out makes me think it's like he has a loaded gun on all of them, or a smoking gun on all of them.
That's what he says.
So it's just like, get rid of me. I dare you to get rid of me.
He says he does. I mean, he's publicly come out and said this is a smear campaign. I mean, I don't think it's a smear campaign. That said, I think it's wrong. I think there's definitely smoke and fire, but he's definitely got dirt on everybody else.
All right. So with that said, let's go on to the AFC West now. We're going to start really easy with the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think there's any way other to put this than what went right is you got rid of Tyreek Hill, got a first-round pick back, and your offense didn't skip a beat. The fact that you can lose one of the most dynamic playmakers in the NFL and it doesn't matter to you at all is phenomenal. And then defensively, they brought in 4 rookies or something like that. Their corners and defensive backs were all rookies, and it didn't matter. They shut people down. My answer to what you need to do is whatever you are currently doing. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Get rid of Juju. Get rid of Juju. Draft a wide receiver. They have Justin Ross on their roster. Hey, develop him. See what happens.
Dude, don't get me started with my Madden team. Justin Ross is my wide receiver 1.
Hey, don't do anything different, obviously. At some point, Kelsey is going to fall off a little bit. Don't know when that is. Luckily, tight ends can play for a very long time at a high level for a very long time. So keep riding it. Spagnuolo sucks at the beginning of the year, gets better as it goes on, decides he's like Swiss Army knife with certain people on his team. In this last case, it was 2 years ago, it was the Honey Badger. Last year, it was L'Jarius Sneed. Obviously don't do anything. So that one's
I wish I could give them advice, and I can't because they're perfect.
Get rid of Juju. Come on.
All right, let's go on to the number 2 team.
Get rid of Juju.
I'm sure we have loads of advice. The Los Angeles Chargers came in second in this division. Were hyped coming in. I think they were 4-6 at one point and went on a 6-1 run to end the year. I think I hit on their bets a lot throughout the season because I was loving their matchups and they were underrated.
Sometimes I tell you,
the problem
if they got hot, they would be ridiculous, and they did.
Dude, they were great all the way through the first half of the playoffs. But of course, we all know that was by far the worst playoff showing maybe ever, right? I think it's borderline the biggest playoff comeback allowed. Was at 27-0 at one point in the first half, and they blew it. So
yeah.
With that said, they spent money to get Khalil Mack. They spent money to get Justin Jackson, J.C. Jackson at corner. What are you doing to fix this team?
Well, they already started. They got rid of their offensive coordinator. They got a new one. They cleaned house on the deep. They cleaned house all
for the record, they got Kellen Moore, a guy I think we both highly endorse.
Yeah, I think they're going in the right direction. I think they got rid of some defensive staff too, I think. Their they're doing the right things. I'm not convinced that Staley is the guy. Now you're worried about getting everything else right except for the top, which is the opposite of the Eagles. You got to get rid of. You're probably going to have to cut some dead weight, get some losses, take some losses on the defensive side. They're going to keep. GM came out and said he's going to keep Keenan Allen. They're trying to give this one more good go. Is what's going to happen. They're trying to give one more good go with Staley and what he can do. And if the wheels fall off, they may groom Kellen Moore. That's my hot take. I think if their offense does well and their defense sucks, Kellen Moore gets the head coaching job next year. And if he gets endorsed by Herbert and blah, 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 I think they're giving one more shot to them. What do? I think you cut some dead weight, see what you can get out of it. Man, I mean, you got Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, if Mike Williams could ever stay healthy, Josh Palmer. Not a lot broke there, except for the coaching.
I'm with you. I think 100%. So I think the PFF guys brought it up when they were interviewing Staley. The Chargers had the lowest average depth of target last year. It was about 6 yards. And you and I talk about how like the magic of Justin Herbert's arm. What they need is a burner outside of Mike Williams. Mike Williams is their deep threat, and it gets brought up over and over again. He's their deep threat, and he's their red zone guy. That is just touchdown potential all over the field. He's their when he's out, the offense turns into 5 yards Keenan Allen, 5 yards Josh Palmer, and you can't sustain drive. Like, I don't care how good your offense is, you need to be able to create chunk plays, and that's why the Chiefs, they have Mecole Hardman, they had Travis Kelce, they had MVS. They had so many options that could bust out down the field and create a chunk play, or a defense that it gave up passing yards, but it forced turnovers, it forced sacks, it forced big plays. You got to create those big plays, and I think that's what the Chargers were missing. I think Kellen Moore can bring that. He can bring creativity to the offense. I'm really excited for their offense again. But I believed in Brandon Staley after his first year. I thought he was following the analytics-minded front office for the Chargers, and clearly that was not the case because he backed off of doing whatever it was. And you know what? If you're just going to flop your guns like that, that's why his defenses look shaky, and that's why I'm very low on him. He probably was the guy that recommended bringing in J.C. Jackson, a guy who was an elite shutdown man corner for the Patriots and looked like hot trash for the Chargers. That is a huge problem. I don't know what they're going to do. If their defense looks bad again, I would borderline be out on Staley already this year, but if you're giving him another go and the defense isn't up to it halfway through the year, I think you got to let him go and just bring in someone that can come up with a new idea
Kellen,
and
that's
get this defense working in the right direction.
That's what I'm saying. You brought in the perfect platform. Staley sucks. You brought in Kellen Moore and say, hey, Kellen, you got 8 games to prove yourself why we should have this head job. There you go. Done. I mean, they're kind of doing succession planning already.
Yeah, I love the Kellen Moore move. That kind of feels like that we screwed up on Brian Dable, so we're bringing our guy in here because didn't they hire him within 24 hours of being fired by the Cowboys?
Yeah,
phenomenal.
It was
let's go on.
Crazy.
Team number 3, the Las Vegas Raiders. I know you hate yourself some Josh McDaniels. If you want to go and tee off on what went wrong for them, you're welcome to.
I mean, we just talked about it. Like, everyone craps on guys like, Byron Leftwich. Let me back up. Everyone talks about Nathaniel Hackett being outproduced by Aaron Rodgers and basically silver spooning him to a head coaching job. Nobody's saying anything about McDaniels in his second stint as a head coach, twice getting bumped up by Tom Brady. Nobody's saying that. So I am shocked that nobody is jumping on this train at all. And in fact, they tried to fire him, but they don't have any cash, so they can't fire him because they can't pay him the severance. As long as he's there, I am worried about them. I just am. I think they're going to squander Adams. I think they're going to squander Waller and Renfro and Jacobs. I think at the worst, they're going to franchise Jacobs this year. And if they're going to bring in a hand-picked guy from, it's either Jimmy G, Aaron Rodgers. They're obviously not bringing Carr back, but it's probably Jimmy G or Aaron Rodgers. Okay. Likely Jimmy G because he was with him in New England. If that doesn't work, 6 games in, 7 games in, get out. Be done. Cut bait. Sorry, start over. Sorry, Jimmy G. I mean, you can't screw up this royally twice as a head coach and continue to go. So what do? You do partially what they're doing, which is go get a quarterback that you like. Derek Carr is not even a bad quarterback, but you decided that he's not your guy. Fine. Go get somebody that you think is right now and try again because you got to find out if your head coach sucks, which he likely does. Their defense is still awful. I mean, I don't know what to do with the defense. You have an all-pro defensive end, probably one of the most valuable positions on the team, and he's a top 3 probably defensive end in the NFL, and he kills it every game, and you're wasting him. It's like Myles Garrett. So I don't know.
Yeah, I can't. I'm with you. Their defense is where I was going to say you need to get a corner. Whenever I go through like steps for building a defense, it's get me a pass rusher and then get me a corner. And then we'll start to fill in elsewhere, maybe a second corner, maybe a safety, just depending what you need. But they've been completely dysfunctional drafting. I think they had like 3 or 4 picks on their defensive backfield and none of them worked.
I think they have.
In general, their top 4 picks in drafts haven't worked in the last 4 or 5 years.
I think
Garyon Conley is the one I was thinking of.
2018 or 2019 to current day, I think they have 1 first-round draft pick that's like still in the league or something like that. It's crazy.
I think Josh Jacobs is the only guy that ended up sticking. And they had 3 draft picks, and I remember everyone being pumped. Cleveland Farrell is another guy, but like he's not good. Anyways, you got to have an owner who releases control over the draft, because what happens is, I mean, I'm a big basketball fan. I can watch basketball and break it down much better than football, but you see it all the time. Owner watches the March Madness tournament, falls in love with the dude, and says draft him. Cleveland Farrell was watched in the
National championship game.
The National Championship, and he's like, he had a great game, go draft him. It's like, no, that's not the way this works. You gotta study the body of work more completely than just say, oh, he had a good game or a good couple games. So you gotta let Al Davis Jr. let whoever the GM is actually do his job. So
I don't know.
And I'm out on Josh McDaniels. That is not a good coach. Period.
Yeah, their GM technically has sucked for 6 years in a row. I think they got it. Was it sort of a G?
But it's like saying the Cowboys GM has sucked for 6 years in a row. Has it been the Cowboys GM or has it been Jerry Jones overriding decisions?
That's fair.
So, all right, let's go on to the last team, Denver Broncos. Walmart taking over the league until Jeff Bezos buys it from them because he makes more money. But new ownership. New head coach. We harped on it all year. Don't say they need new coaching. Sean Payton's in. The new coach is here. Limited ability to do much. I don't think they have a first-round pick because they traded both of them away that they had. So Russell Wilson or bust is the question. Do you think Sean?
They might have gotten one back. They might have gotten one back with the Bradley Chubb.
They gave it up to the Saints. It was they gave up their first pick this year to the Seahawks.
That's right.
And they traded Bradley Chubb, and then they gave up that pick for Sean Payton.
That GM for the Saints got a first back. That's like fantasy football right there. He got his first back.
Dude, that would be like trading your first rounder to have like. So you and I are in a league. I'd be like, hey Connor, set my lineup for a week. I'll give you my first round pick next year.
But then you go find another way to get a first back just a little bit later somehow. I don't. Anyways, I mean, this is it. Like you are. I think what you're doing is right. I think nobody needs to talk about the disaster of last year. You got a yes man that was there. He's out. You made him. You made the right move in getting him out even before the season was over. You got Sean Payton. If anybody can fix it, he can. And let's say it sucks next year. You're stuck with Payton. I think you're maybe stuck with Wilson too. I mean, you are, but at least Payton
you're stuck with Wilson for at least 2 more years or 3 more years.
Yeah, but at least you get Payton in the draft room to do 1 or 2 or 3 drafts. So you suck for the next 3 years. You show signs of life in 2 years. That's better than having a nobody. Now, supposedly, they're not. Or I heard rumors that Jerry Jeudy could potentially be on the block, which I don't think is smart. But if it's got to be, go up and get somebody in the first round. I don't know how that would work, but you lost Ajiro Evero, so you lost a defensive coordinator. It's not good. I don't know, man. I just this could go really, really, really poorly. I am a big believer that Russell Wilson cannot be that bad. I think it was Hackett, but you hope dude's 34, so he ain't young.
I'm with you. I was a Russell Wilson believer. The Let Russ Cook movement was one I was highly a part of in Seattle. And Javonte Williams' injury is now scaring me because it's looking like Russell Wilson needs an 8th defender in the box, right? Because he can't throw to the middle of the field. When you put 2 safeties deep, him hitting like in between the hash marks or in between the 20s, and moving the ball down the field that way is something he might not be able to do. So a run game helps him do that and lets him utilize his deep balls, which is like by far the best part of his game. However, I believe Sean Payton will find a way to make this work. He made it work with Drew Brees, and I know Drew Brees is next level intelligent, next level accurate, like Hall of Fame, obviously. But I think Russell Wilson can be good enough at those things, and I think they have good enough receivers. And I know you're worried about Ajiro Evero leaving, but they did get Vance Joseph, a man who is a good defensive coordinator. I'm not going to say great, but, good enough. So the bottom line is the personnel's there. Top to bottom, a couple more offensive linemen, but you can go, and I'd say just go draft two or three. You'll get 1 starter out of it in this year's draft, and it should help you a lot. But your defense is there. Your receivers are there. You just need to find a way to get Russell Wilson to not be the worst quarterback in the NFL. The problem is, of course, your division, where you have Chiefs twice, Chargers twice, and fortunately the Raiders twice. But you could be looking at a 2-4, 1-5 record year after year unless you become a 10-win team, and that's rough. So, in terms of solutions, make Russ back to a top 8 quarterback and compete. I was going to say, Sean Payton is the answer. He was the best coach available, and you got him. And we talked about it. There was some hesitancy on both sides, but, Walmart owners said, whatever you want, we will give to you, and we will call it a rounding error on our checkbooks. So here we are. Good luck to the Broncos. They have the 4th place schedule. They get the Jets, they get the Browns, they get the Texans. Depending on what those teams do in the offseason, I know I hyped up the Browns going into next year, and I'm a Browns believer. Most people aren't, though. So good luck to them. I do like – the problem is, even if I like this team, I can't put them higher than the Chargers. They're the third team in the AFC West, even if I think they go 10-7. Bottom line.
Go Sean Payton.
Look at that. Perfectly. Right at 1 hour. I could have hit stop right there when you said go Sean Payton, and I didn't. And we're still going.
Clip it.
Any last words? I was going to say, the only thing I missed is Eric Bieniemy to Washington makes me want them to get a better quarterback 10 times more.
I think it's a good fit. I think it's a good chance. I mean, what he does, to me, that makes sense to go out and do what you said. Don't have him start over with a Sam Howell. Go out and get him something that he can say, hey, you and me, like we've been in this league for a little while. It makes the learning. The team is already bad on offense. He doesn't have to like start from scratch with somebody. He can say, hey, this is how we did it. And he can say, oh, yeah, we did it this way. And the quarterback can say, oh, we did it this way. All right, cool. Let's come to a conclusion together because people still don't know if he can call plays. At least you can have somebody like Derek Carr be like, yeah, we tried that. It sucked. Josh McDaniels sucked. You know, I think you're starting him behind if you're like, hey, man, you've never called plays before, and we need you to take on another rookie quarterback and teach him the ropes. Woof. Good luck.
Yeah, I am with you. This guy, if there is anyone I want people to do favors for, it's Eric Bieniemy. The dude deserves a head coaching job. Brian Flores, I would say, is the second person I would want teams to give the benefit of the doubt to going forward. But Bieniemy, by far, number one. Don't make him have to prove himself. Like, don't make him win a race with like a car that's 20 years older than everyone else. You know, I'm thinking about my 1994 Dodge Spirit. Don't make him win a race with that car against a Corvette.
I had a Ford Taurus, a 94 Ford Taurus. So, yes.
I always loved being able to tell people my car was the same age as me through college. All right. Thank you guys for listening. If you were here on the live stream, we muchly appreciate it. If you weren't, we only appreciate it. A little bit less so. All right. Like, comment, subscribe.
Next week, we'll work on Phil's vocabulary because he just said muchly appreciated instead of greatly
Well, what was the first word I said?
We muchly appreciated. That's what you said.
No. To start the show that you made fun of me for. It was like represented.
Appeared. Representatives. I can't believe, like, Phil, what are you doing? I'm hosting. It's my show now.
You take over next week. It's all you.
Yeah, I will.
All right. See you guys.